Hello. So I am going to do my best to take you through my 2026 contest prep season. So I am currently just shy of 19 weeks out from my first show of the season. I am aiming for Masters Worlds in Pittsburgh as my first show, and I'm super excited about it. I was not able to do Worlds last year, but for a very good reason. I was in Tokyo competing at the Masters Olympia. Um, my pro debut in 2022 was Masters Worlds, and I was absolutely ecstatic with my fifth place finish at my first ever pro show. The following year, 2023, I would go back and take first place. And then the following year, I did not have quite as good of a showing. I think I took third that year. But yeah, we're coming back this year. I'm excited to see what I've built in the improvement season. This has got to be a common competitor thing. I know I hear it from the people that I coach. I end every improvement season nervous that I have not put on enough muscle and that I worked the past 8 to 9 months and will have nothing to show for it. I know it's not logical. I mean, I've been eating my protein, I've been lifting heavy, I've been consistent. But we always get in our own heads about prep and our physiques and everything. So, what did I do this improvement season that was different? So, other than needing a little more glute, I'm kind of filled out everywhere on my frame. I've got enough muscle. So, I still lift heavy and hard, but I'm not actively trying to grow other than the glutes, like I said. So I don't need to put on a lot of weight, or it's just going to be harder to diet it off during prep. I like long, slow preps. That's why I'm starting prep 19 weeks out. Normally, I start 20 weeks out. I kind of take the first 4 weeks of prep for what I call a pre-prep phase, which is where I clean up my habits. I get myself used to tracking again. I try to take my training sessions from 4 days a week or 5 days a week up to 6 days a week, and I start doing intentional walks again, which to me is my cardio, until we get more like the 8 week mark out, at which point I'll start adding in something like elliptical or Stairmaster. So I only put on, goodness, this morning I weighed myself. I was 137.2, and my stage weight was 129.5 in Tokyo, which was actually the lightest stage weight I think I've ever had. I'm usually my low would be 129 and my high would be 132. So right around that 130 mark is the sweet spot. So I'm only approximately 7 pounds over stage weight. So I think that's where some of my fear that I hadn't put on enough muscle is coming from, because I don't have as much mass on my frame right now. But what I do have is the density that I normally can't even see until I've peeled 10 pounds of body fat off. So most preps I'm trying to take off 12 pounds, 15 pounds. I've been as high as 18 or 20 pounds over stage weight. Again, every off season is different, every prep is different, and you got to do what's right for you based on the goals that you have that season. So for me, this is what I needed to achieve my goals this season. I felt super comfortable in my off season body because I like to stay leaner. It's also really good for aging skin to stay as tight as possible and not experience too much expanding and shrinking and expanding and shrinking. Think of it like blowing a balloon up. You blow it up and then you let the air out and it's kind of wrinkly, and that's not the look I'm going for with my skin. So kept it tight this improvement season. I also pulled back my glute training sessions to more like 2 days a week instead of 3 days a week. My recovery was better. My motivation to train and the duration of my training sessions went up. So quality of lifts was up. I pushed heavier than I've ever pushed, and it really showed me how much more I actually could have been giving in previous seasons. It frustrates me a little bit, but you know what? You live, you learn, and this is a sport of progression. So proud of myself for progressing there, but strength is up, lifting weights that I never really contemplated attempting to lift before. So that's where we're at. So yeah, I'm just going to take you through what week one of prep looks like, give you a little bit of the behind the scenes, and let you in on how I prep. I mean, there's going to be some relevant information that you can take with you and apply it to your own prep. Hopefully it'll provide some entertainment while you're doing cardio to distract you from all of that. I know for myself, I really like watching other people's prep videos when I'm prepping. It's fun. I like to watch the meal prep videos. I like to watch the behind the scenes. Just kind of helps me feel engaged and connected to the sport. So every season I think about doing this, and I've always got a million reasons why I can't or why I don't. And I mean, come on, no excuses. That's not me. So I think my biggest concern in this is the editing process, because it intimidates me a little bit, but I've been learning new skill sets, and I know I'll get better as time goes. Quality will improve. So thank you all for bearing with me through this early phase. So again, the most important step is that first one, and then from there, just keep that momentum. So probably most of the talking that I'm going to do through this prep is while I'm driving. So I'm not going to be looking at the camera because obviously I'm keeping my eyes on the road. But it's that time that I have that I can talk to you guys. So thanks for coming along on this drive with me, and I will talk to you later. One of the things I start doing when I start contest prep is weighing myself daily. I stay off the scale for the most part during improvement season. Here's Capone keeping me company in the morning while I do some of my computer work. He's been a little sad since Luna died last September, but life is about to change for him. I'm also using my progress tracker again for this season. I get super detailed and accurate when I'm tracking everything for prep. Starting prep also means starting cardio, which for me is just daily walks. All right, so we'll give you some cardio thoughts while I'm walking. This is the first time I've been out on the trail this season. Got my little cardio buddy here with me. But I love it out here. I love the smells, and it smells different every single season. So the berry bushes are starting to bloom. They're green now, but not the right berries. So it's all the spring smells. The lilacs are starting to bloom. Absolutely love Washington State. I'm looking at this field over here, and there used to be a barn. It's just a big open field. But I tend to cycle my competitive season with the natural seasons. So in the fall and the winter, I go into hibernation mode. And then in the springtime, I come out and I start prepping. And then summertime, harvest time, that's when all the payoff for all the preparation and the groundwork laid during the improvement phase starts to show and manifest. So time to peel back the layers, show what I've built, and bring an undeniable package to stage. Prep gets pretty intense, so for me, taking it outside, getting in the sunlight, taking a minute to pick some flowers and appreciate nature really puts me in a good frame of mind. Plus, this guy got a little bit chunky this fall and winter, so he's getting more steps in and is on a little bit of a diet himself. So I've been reflecting back over how many preps I've been through, and this is my 7th consecutive season prepping. I've learned so much along the way, and now I'm working with all of these wonderful athletes, sharing all the tips and tricks I've learned, and then putting them into practice myself season after season. And I will tell you, the more you do this, the easier it gets. It just becomes a lifestyle. These habits become part of your routine, and it's not like flipping such a switch, going from improvement season to prep. This is one of our favorite little offshoots from the trail. We get to go down to the river. Capone's going to get himself a little drink here. He's pretty thirsty. But it's really fun to watch the water level as the season progresses. So you'll probably end up seeing a video of the same spot a couple months from now, and there's hardly going to be anything here. But right now we still have a decent amount of water going. Capone loves to swim, but unless he has his life vest on, he's not allowed to go in the water. He sinks. We went about 4 miles today on the walk and saw so many beautiful flowering trees. We saw those 2 adorable cows, and Capone was absolutely exhausted by the time we got back. For me, I generally like to do my more intense cardio sessions or my longer cardio days on days where I'm not training lower body. My best advice for meal prep is honestly just keep it simple. Grab a couple vegetables that you like, have a couple carbs, have a couple protein sources that you do in rotation, and other than that, just keep it the same as much as possible. I don't avoid sodium, but I am particular about the type of sodium that I use. Only real sea salt for me. I love these Costco frozen veggies.
What are you doing in
And
here? Out of the kitchen.
busted.
Out. Out. Sit. Good boy.
All right, so here we are at the gym. I'm going to take you through one of my glute days. So, my favorite squat pattern, if you didn't already know, is the reverse hack squat. I find that I can go really heavy with this one, although when I'm going heavier, like I am today, I actually don't squat as deep as I might if I only had one plate on each side. So for me, I'm not trying to grow my adductors. And if I squat deep on this one, I actually recruit a lot of adductor to get from the bottom of the movement back up to midpoint. So I just go until I have that deep stretch in my glute and then I stop. I'm going nice and slow and controlled, and I'm keeping my core nice and braced. I remember when I tried the reverse hack squat for the first time and I was only able to put a 10-pound weight on each side. That was probably 6 or 7 years ago now at this point. And it's super rewarding to see how much I've been able to increase my strength on this movement pattern. If you're not already doing these, you have got to try them. Although it's not every gym that has a machine that works well for these. I know that if I'm at LA Fitness, these are out of the question. Their machine is terrible for trying to do these. For my squat patterns, I do 4 or 5 sets, somewhere between 6 to 12 reps, depending on how heavy I'm going. I do one set that's my warm-up set, and then if I'm not happy with that fourth set, I might do a cool down set at a lower weight. It might look like I'm moving at a slow and unbothered pace, but I kid you not, I am seeing stars by the time I'm done with these sets. Next up, we have the hip thrust. I really don't like this movement. I don't look forward to it. but it's necessary. I connect with it, I feel it in my glutes, and I like this Nautilus machine better than most of the other machines that I've tried. For this one, I'm able to really get full hip extension and achieve lockout at the top. And I pause for just a second when I am at the top and get that nice, really good contraction. I find that if I go too heavy on these, I'm not getting lockout. So I moved from doing 3 plates down to doing 2 plates. Some days, if I'm doing lighter weight, higher volume sets, I'll even drop to just 1 plate on each side. And depending on how I move my feet, whether my knees are abducting out or whether I'm internally rotating, I can feel this very differently. So yes, I do my hip thrusts even though I don't really like them. Hands are already in position to rack on that last rep. I am so ready to be done with these. And yeah, even after these, I feel slightly dizzy. I really put my all into these sets and go until I'm struggling. As someone with chronic low back issues, I do have to be really careful with hip thrusts and be very mindful of my form, making sure that my entire core is braced, that I'm not tilting through the pelvis. And I know that some people say to tuck your chin on this one, but I actually like to keep my head in contact with the bench and keep my eyes up. I find that it keeps my spine very straight, and I just like it this way better. Maybe you're picking up on a theme here, but I feel like I lift pretty slow. I don't do many fast reps, so I like to be very slow, intentional, and mindful with my training. Oh, the relief when the final set is over and then you check your heart rate and you're up over 140. Yes, that was an intense one. All right, next up is the step down. So I am doing a glute medius step down, so I'm stepping out and back. I've got the weight in the opposite hand, so I'm really forcing that stability and strength through the glute medius. Step downs, in my opinion, are right up there with Bulgarians for unilateral work, and sometimes, especially after a heavy reverse hack squat and the hip thrust, a Bulgarian just feels a little too mentally exhausting and intimidating. So a step down feels a little bit easier, but I'm still getting all of the same recruitment and work that I'm trying to get with a Bulgarian. This is actually a bicep curl machine, and I don't like using it for that, but it has an adjustable step and this awesome little handle, so it's a great place for me to set up to do these step downs. If I do your programming, guaranteed you have the glute max or the glute medius or both versions of the step down in your plan. So I have 2 finisher moves. One is the cable kickback, and then one is the machine seated abduction. I did not film my machine seated abduction, but I did film this glute cable kickback. So if you'll notice, I've got a bent leg. This is how I feel it best with this variety. And when I am in my fully extended position, I'm really squeezing and getting that contraction in the glute, like I'm pausing for just a brief moment at the top before lowering. I'm keeping my hips level, I'm not rotating to one side or the other, and I'm controlling the weight through the whole movement pattern. I'm not swinging it back. Movements like kickbacks
seated abductions, and even the hip thrusts and the step downs for that matter are all things that you can recover from fairly quickly. So, as far as volume in my weekly training program, I actually have quite a bit of kickbacks, quite a bit of abductions, and I do a lot of those step downs too. But if I'm looking for extra credit work, kickbacks, that's where it's at. The time under tension that you get, the different varieties that you can do to target different parts of the glutes are just amazing. I recently switched to these ankle straps that have the stirrup underneath it and like them so much better than the other kind. Well, thanks everyone for watching my video. Short, brief, and not a lot of footage, but I will be back at you next week with more content. Lift hard, eat smart, and be kind.